welcome back to the garage. At the end of the last video, we got the drivetrain, the transmission, torque tube, everything bolted up to the bell housing. Since then, all I've done was bled the clutch. I brought the wiring back, tucked it back up into its little holder, put it on the side of the torque tube, got everything set up back here. So now I need to run over with the tractor and grab the rear cradle, because that's today's project. Gonna get the rear cradle and everything put back in back here. Get that done, then we can move on back up to the motor. So let me get the cradle and we'll get busy. All right, let's see how much of a pain it is getting that cradle up in there. I usually use the hydraulic jack. This time I put it on the little transmission jack. I've already got the titanium exhaust up in there because it's hard to get in after the cradle's in. So it's just hanging there. So now we'll roll that back and start raising it up. I really think this jack will work much better. Okay, we've engaged the transmission mount. I moved my brake calipers where I had them hanging in so I could get in the fenders to work on the gas tank, so I had to move them back out of the way. Now, pretty much ready to keep going up. And the front bolts have started to engage a little bit. Now the back ones are going in. And they've got alignment pins. And it's in there. That was easy. As you can see, she's totally engaged there. And in the back, everything just slipped up in there perfectly. So now I just need to put the nuts on that, get it torqued up. I can start putting axles in, all the other little stuff. 81 foot-pounds for the 4 mounting nuts. Yeah, all the mounts are torqued down. Finished hooking up my last little bit of wiring to the rear end. So now, jacking up the suspension a little bit so I can get the upper mounts in on the shocks. Okay, once the shock was in place, I reached through there and engaged the CV axle into the diff. And lined up my upper control arms, pushed the whole assembly in. That got it most of the way into the diff, and reach up underneath and pop it the rest of the way in. So now we can put the 2 bolts up the top. They get torqued to 81 foot-pounds too. Right after torquing the upper control arms down, put the brakes on, moved to the other side, did all the same stuff over here, got it all torqued down. Now, since I worked with the brake lines, got to do a little brake bleeding. I want to make sure I don't have any line issues before I put the tunnel plate back in. Well, it hasn't really been a very productive couple of days. I came out yesterday with the idea of getting a bunch done and ended up having to build a new brake line going to the back because I thought, well, I better bleed that out and make sure there's no leaks. Well, there was leaks because I had taken the original double brake line going to the back. I had just used one of the factory ones, took the other one out. Well, it wouldn't seal at the back where the flare was. So now we've got the good nickel copper brake line in there. So it ends up being better, but it just kind of ruined everything I was doing last night. So today I've got out of here, went ahead and put the valve covers on. I wanted to get the top of the engine covered up to where I could start running the wires without dropping stuff down into it. So right now we're going to put the valley pan back on, and I went and deleted the knock sensors because I'm not a big fan of knock sensors. Well, that's a whole different video, but I'm not a big fan of knock sensors. I can hear the knock generally faster than the knock sensors pick it up. So I just took them off, one less thing to go wrong. And instead of that ugly valley pan with the knock sensor holes and everything, I got an ICT billet pan to go on there. So we're going to bolt that down, seal up the top of the engine. All right, that looks good. I'm happy with it. While we're in the area, I know it's dark back there, going to put in the little caps for the steam fittings. Don't want to get the manifold on and forget I put those in. Use new gaskets. Go ahead and get those screwed in place. Since I didn't feel like crawling under the thing today, just been shotgunning some parts on the front here. Put the water pump on. It's got 6 bolts to hold it. They're torque them to 11 on the first pass, 22 on the second. Put on the bracket here for the power steering pump alternator. It is, it had 4 main bolts, 37 foot-pounds on those. Got the bracket for the tank there. And unfortunately, if you remember taking it apart, the pulley wouldn't come off the power steering. So I had to cut it off. So this is what's right here is what's left of the pulley. And we still have to get that off before I can put the new pulley on and get that back on there. So that's probably going to be my next project. But the wife just hollered, said she made tacos. So I love tacos. I'm heading to the house.